Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, just welcome in general. Today I'm doing another book recommendations for specific tropes. I asked you guys on Instagram if you had any specific tropes that you wanted me to find a recommendation for, and I've planned the video, and here we are. Before we get into the recommendations, we do have a sponsor today, and the sponsor is Byzance. So Byzance is an app where people can join and connect with others who are reading the same book as them. If you add a book to your status and say currently reading, that opens up a chat room with other people who are also currently reading the same book as you. So you can discuss like how you're feeling as you read each chapter. If you add a status saying that you've read a book, that opens up a different chat room with people that have also read the same book as you, which gives you the opportunity to review the book with others, talk about your feelings and emotions, and just kind of have a back and forth conversation. You can share your profile with your friends, they can share their profile with you, and then you can follow each other on the app. So think of it as like an online book club that's for free with no ads, because Byzance is free and has no ads. The links to Byzance and my account will be in the description box below, so if you're interested you can check down below this video and come on over and follow me or check out the app for yourself. It's time to get into the recommendations. Alright, so the first trope we're going to be talking about is surprise pregnancy. Now this is actually a trope that I love, okay? But this is the thing with me and surprise pregnancies. I don't like knowing going into the book that it is a surprise pregnancy trope. I like to be surprised. I don't want to know. So I don't come across them often, and I don't really search for them either. But one of my favorites ever is Another by Fiona Cole. So this is a part of the 𝐉𝐲 series, which is one of Fiona Cole's really popular series. I've recommended this series so many times on my channel. I believe that this is the third or fourth book. You can read it as a standalone though, because I didn't read the book prior to this before I went into this book, and I enjoyed it just as much. But it's about this girl who ends up having like a one-night stand and obviously ends up falling pregnant and doesn't even know the guy that she slept with. It's kind of one of those books that I don't want to give too much away, because if you know too much, it's not really a shock when you go to read it, and I feel like books are just better to be read if you know very little about the plot. But this is so good, and one of my favorite surprise pregnancy tropes. Someone asked for a bodyguard romance, and my number one favorite bodyguard romance is Bound by Temptation by Cora Reilly. So this is a mafia trope as well, and it's about Lillian and Romero. Lillian is a young mafia princess who ends up falling for her sister's bodyguard, who is much older than her. So you also have a little bit of a taboo age gap. Also, they're both part of different criminal syndicates. So Lillian is part of the Chicago Mafia, whereas Romero is a part of the New York Mafia. And they're rivals. So it's very taboo because of many different reasons, but it's one of my favorite bodyguard romances ever. Someone asked for vampires, and I read this book last year, and it's literally one of my favorite reads of last year. It was the first book that came into my mind when someone asked for vampires, and it's called Black Sunshine by Karina Halle. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I don't know. This is so good. It's wild. It's really crazy. It is set in modern times, and it is obviously a paranormal because there is vampires, but it's about this girl who is human, and she gets kidnapped by this vampire. And there's a lot of history about herself and her family that she's unaware of, that she comes to learn while being kidnapped by this vampire. That's all I want to say. Is so much more than that, but there's so much paranormal stuff going on. There's witches and vampires, and it's just a crazy good time. So underrated. I don't see a lot of people talk about it. Very mixed reviews, but just know that if you like the same books that I like, you'll enjoy this one as well. Someone famous. I love a famous trope, but again, I don't come across them that often because I don't like searching for specific tropes. One of my favorite books ever for this trope, and also one that came to my mind straight away, is Becoming Mrs. Lockwood by 𝐂𝐿, I think her name is. I read this back in 2020 and devoured it and loved it so much. So it's about this young girl, she's 18, she's in Las Vegas on holiday with her mother, and she meets this guy at a coffee shop, and then later on they end up going out for dinner together. They end up having a really spicy, drunk night in Las Vegas and wake up the next day married. But she does not know who he really is. And when she finds out, she freaks out. It's the type of romance that gives you the trashy good shit. You know what I mean? I love trashy romances. Give me the drama. Give me the smut. Give me the steam. Give me all the goodness. Like something that's just easy to devour and is just really pleasant to read. Becoming Mrs. Lockwood. Someone asked for a cartel romance. Again, I haven't read a lot of cartel romances. You know, I don't shy away from criminal syndicate romances, okay? But the first one and the only one that pops into my mind is Violent Delights by Jessica Hawkins. It's a 3-book series. It is epic. It's very cartel. And it's just so good. The whole aesthetic of the book, it's just like, oh, I don't remember if it was Colombian or Mexican. I believe it was Mexican. I could be wrong though. It's about this girl who is obviously a daughter of a cartel boss, and her mother dies when she's quite young. She gets murdered by a family friend and a person that works for her father. And she actually grows up and starts dating that person's brother. And then the murderer of her mother decides to come back into her life and rekindle business with her father. And she is just like, what the fuck, Dad? Why? But then is kind of attracted to her boyfriend's brother who murdered her mother. Yeah. All right, the next trope that you guys asked for, and this one's very specific, was a book where the hero is taking care of the heroine because she's either injured or sick. So the book that I chose for this one was Beyond the Roses by Monica James. This is the type of book, again, I don't want to give too much away, but it's pretty much about this girl who goes to this kind of summer camp to volunteer, and she meets this doctor that works at the summer camp, and they kind of hit it off. And there is a specific scene in this book where something happens to her and he has to look after her. This book is very, very emotional, okay? So keep that in mind. Very emotional, heartwarming, heartbreaking, good smart, good love, like good romance. Monica James, Beyond the Roses. Someone asked for an escort romance, and of course I'm going to fucking suggest Hush Hush by Lucia Franco, my #1 favorite standalone of all time. I've recommended this book a ton, but if you want an escort romance, this is the best of the best. I haven't come across a book like this, and I don't come across many escort-like romances anyway, but there has been a few that I've enjoyed, but this one is top tier. Like, if you want this trope, escorting, Hush Hush is where it's at. Someone asked for a romance with a therapist, like someone goes to counseling or goes to see a therapist, and the relationship between the patient and the therapist blossoms. Now this book, Sweet Dandelion, is about a high school student who sees the school counselor because she suffered from some trauma witnessing a school shooting. Now this is a very heavy book, but this came to my mind straight away thinking of like the therapist and patient kind of relationship, even though it's still set in school and it's not necessarily like a therapist-patient relationship. It is very similar. And this could also classify as a student-teacher romance as well. But this book is beautifully written. And the love is so real, and it's one of those stories where you literally believe in the love and you ship their relationship because it's just so beautiful and you can see how much they love each other. But this is beautiful, really well written, and also there's good smut in it as well. But yeah, this is one of my favorites. Someone asked for books that are similar to the Elite Kings Club by Amo Jones, and the Unsainted series from 𝐂𝐕 came straight to my mind. This is dark, this is twisted. If you like Amo, you'll love 𝐂𝐕. This series is on crack. It's very dark, very twisted, very taboo. Like there's a lot going on. It's one of the darkest things I've ever read, and I read a lot of dark romance, but this is brilliant. I know for a fact if you like the Elite Kings Club, you'll love this. This is the second time I've done this video, yeah? And this always comes up, a drug addict. Now, this series, it's a 4-book series. They're not big books though, so you can chew through them like very fast. I read this in January and read all 4 books within like 3 days. First book is called Opium Skies. This book is about 2 people who both suffer from addiction, who come together, fall for each other, but their relationship is extremely toxic. It's this whirlwind of emotions and toxicity and drama and drugs and addiction, like hardcore addiction. And I think it's the second book that really showcases the addiction. We're talking heavy drugs, so it's called Opium, guys. So Oxycontin, heroin, all of that. So good. Really good. Well, probably one of my top favorite reads so far this year. But I devoured these books. As I said, there's 4 books. They're not massive, so you can read them quite quickly. Tons of drugs. Drug addiction is very prominent in this book. It's pretty much the plot. The right person, the wrong time. This is one of my favorite tropes ever. Because the angst is always so fucking real. Something in the Way by Jessica Hawkins. I feel like this book is like the prime example of what a right person, wrong time romance looks like. It's a 4-book series. It's a slow burn. This book is incredible. Like this series, it's one of those series that you love with your entire being, but you fucking hate at the same time because the characters just send you nuts. I recently made one of my friends on Instagram read this, and she was updating me like the entire time, and she kept sending me messages, and she was like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, it's so good. But it's about Lake and Manning. Lake is a young teenager. She meets this guy who's working on a house across the road from her. He's a construction worker, and they hit it off. There's an instant flame. But Lake is much younger than him, and he's in his early 20s, and he knows that he can't go there. And even though Lake tries to pursue him, he doesn't go there. But he wants to keep a friendship with her, and he wants to be in her life. So he ends up dating her sister. That's all I'm saying. You need to read it. It'll send you fucking bonkers. Like, you'll go insane. And after you read it, you'll be like, why did I just fucking read that? But in the best way possible. Okay? It's prime, right person, wrong time. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I am planning on doing another one of these very soon. They're quite popular, and there was tons of people asking for heaps of different tropes. Enemies to lovers came up quite a bit. So I am wondering if you would like me to do an enemies to lovers specific video, because I haven't done one, I don't think. And that could be quite fun. So let me know in the comments below if you want an enemies to lovers, because I know that came up heaps with this video, like on Instagram. Before I leave, do not forget about Byzance, okay? The links are down below in the description box, along with my social media links as well. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, come over and follow me so you can keep up to date with me and also participate in these types of videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. It means the world to me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.